Welcome to the Awakened Human Podcast, the place to be for highly progressive, yet extremely grounded intuitive guidance, energetic support, metaphysical tools, and higher consciousness for highly successful, ambitious, soul-centered visionaries and leaders like you who want to make a global impact and achieve your highest fulfillment by aligning with your soul's true divine agenda and your role in God's plan of lighted creation, and by utilizing your divine gifts, talents, and abilities from the higher realms. We do this by working with the non-physical realms of higher guidance, energy, intuition, and powerful metaphysical tools for healing and transformation. We understand that the real change and transformation that's being called for on planet Earth and in our own lives and our own businesses doesn't come from outside of us, but rather from within. And that the change that we desire to experience in our lives and in our world requires us to change from the inside. I'm your host, Lori Ann Spagna. I'm a best-selling author, spiritual catalyst, intuitive, energy worker, ascension guide, multidimensional channel, animal communicator, visionary, lightworker, and luminary. I have dedicated my entire professional life to helping thousands and thousands of humans and animals all over the world in service and contribution to the light, which is the expansion, the upliftment, the evolution of humanity, to awaken, to uplift, and to align with our true divine source, which exists within each and every one of us. It is my passion, joy, and purpose to share this information, energy, and consciousness with you. Thank you so much for being here today and for sharing time with me. Let's get started. Welcome back to the Awakened and Elevated Human Podcast with me, Lori Ann Spagna. So let's dive right in today. We're going to speak today about your soul's true divine agenda. Now, a lot of people don't necessarily realize, most people, I don't think they realize that they're operating according to their soul's divine agenda. Most people don't necessarily know what that is, and we don't typically think about that in our everyday lives. However, I can assure you that every soul on earth has an agenda, and every soul in a human body or in an animal body has some form of role to play in what I refer to as God's plan for lighted creation. We're all part of that plan. We're part of that, right? And so once you start recognizing what your soul's agenda is, then it becomes so much easier and more graceful to work through whatever it is you're here to work through, to resolve whatever it is you're here to resolve, and to really become the greatest and best version of yourself, the highest expression of yourself. So first, let's just define the soul's divine agenda. And when I define this, I am not intentionally contradicting anyone else or what anyone else may think or believe about this. I'm simply offering what I've received through my guidance, through my connection, through my inquiry, through my journey of wanting to bring through more consciousness and inquiring with the higher realms, with the non-physical, and also through really understanding the struggles, really working through the struggles and the challenges of my own life, and also in working with thousands and thousands of people and animals around the world, that we all have an agenda, and that's the agenda of the soul. So again, I'm sharing from my perspective, and of course, always take what serves you. So each soul chooses generally pre-incarnation, the major themes of their life and the major lessons. In a sense, we could call them lessons, right? And opportunities. And they're all going to be around these major themes. So those are going to be the themes that you recognize in your life, right? That doesn't mean you don't have a free will choice about it. It doesn't mean it's all pre-scripted. It's certainly not all pre-scripted. It's overall the soul. In fact, let me just define a little bit how I define the soul. And this may be somewhat different from the way other people define the soul, but the soul is an aspect of the totality of you, every individual, meaning us. We are not just a body. In fact, you are not your body. You are not your brain. You are not your personality self. Those are aspects of you. Those are parts of you. But you are much more than just your body. Of course, you know this if you're here. You are much more than just your brain or your heart. You are not those things, but they are part of you. And you are not just your personality self. You are not just a man or a woman or a daughter, a son, a spouse, a sibling. All those things, those are identifiers. And of course, those are not who you are. You are also not just a soul. You are greater than just a soul. You are more than just a soul. You are not just your higher self. Your higher self is another aspect of the totality of you, and your soul is an aspect of the totality of you. So the soul is the aspect of you that is not limited to the personality self or the physical body. And the soul version of you has incarnated in many incarnational lifetimes. If you don't buy into that, that's okay. But you could say parallel realities if you want to see it from a scientific point of view, because quantum physics does validate that. You exist in other parallel realities as other expressions. So this is one of those things. It requires the expansion of consciousness for you to be willing to recognize that. But the soul has traversed those other incarnational aspects, those other time-space realities. And along its journey, it has both picked up incredible learnings and lessons and wisdom and knowledge and experiences. And it also has experienced some of those things to its liking or to its improvement or betterment, and some of those things to the soul's harm or detriment. Some people might say the soul never experiences detriment. The soul only experiences growth and experiences for the experience's sake. There's truth in that. But let us understand the soul has some kind of agenda. And it wants you to either resolve things that maybe were unresolved, to heal things that maybe need healing, to learn and or grow regarding things and experiences that the soul wants to learn about or grow into or evolve into or out of, and to transform, right? So the soul has these agendas and they'll show up as themes of your life. And these themes, if you kind of take a step back from your own life, you'll be able to see them. You might have a theme of physical health issues, right? There's usually more than one theme, but for some people, it's one major theme. It might be a theme of having to work through physical health issues. It might be a theme related to money and wealth, which is also linked into sense of self-worth and value. I don't want to get distracted here because I could talk all about that, because your worth is not linked to your money. But typically, if it's unresolved issues, it may be, right? We tend to link it to that. So that might be a theme. Another theme might be someone for the whole theme might have an entire life theme about relationships, cultivating and bettering relationships. Another theme of someone's life might have to do with personal empowerment, which is personal growth and development. All of these, by the way, have been themes in my life. But typically speaking, the more a soul wants to grow, the more themes they'll have. Some souls came here just for the theme of learning about pleasure and enjoyment. Really, that's okay. So those people might be people that you think of as all they ever do is go to the movies or go to the roller coaster rides or go to the theme park or Disneyland or watch TV, and they might indulge in foods, but that's something that the soul wants to learn about, pleasure and enjoyment. So there are countless themes, and typically speaking, most souls have more than one theme. Health issues, health and physical wellness issues may be the theme that could interact also with relationship issues, relationship to the body, relationship to food, relationship to other people, trainers, mentor. You see, it really can be infinite. But the key is to understand that those themes will not be ignored, because the soul basically creates an imprint, a pattern over lifetimes of these issues, we're calling them issues, that want to be addressed, that are in the field of energy of each individual person or animal, their soul's blueprint. So once you sort of understand this overall, and we'll talk a little bit more about this, then it makes a lot more sense when you start running into first obstacles and then also opportunities. So let's just use some examples here. Let's say the soul has a theme of learning how to work with others and to communicate effectively and to develop their sense of self-worth and self-value. These are multiple themes. But over the course of their lifetime, what that means then is that they will run into countless experiences where they sort of repeat the opportunities, oftentimes in the earlier stages of life, that will really challenge them. And through repeat patterns, they'll eventually learn. They'll realize those old ways of doing it didn't really work. These ways are better. This is a better way to handle this. This works better. They'll learn how to communicate better, more effectively in their relationships, and they'll start to develop a sense of worth and value over time because they'll be like, wow, I'm so much better at this than I used to be. Wow, I've learned so much. But along the journey, it really wasn't necessarily so fun. They might have had a lot of challenges. They might have had conflicts. Another kind of example is that the soul might be learning also what it means to be in harmony. So we can see patterns. If a person is learning how to be in harmony, they might have multiple animals in the family who don't live in harmony, or maybe they do, and they're showing it. They might have a lot of conflicts in their life with other people or groups or organizations and start realizing over time that those conflicts were not worth it to them and they just want to live in harmony. They might have to overcome certain parts of their own unconscious, like having to prove their point or having to be right all the time so that they can live in harmony. You see, these are things we're working on. Now, the thing is that we tend to go through it kind of blindly. And in the old paradigm, the way I would explain that is that I would use the languaging memory wiped. So we did reincarnation, right? The soul goes through multiple lifetimes, and then in between lifetimes, it kind of chooses its themes. And then somewhere in there, it's memory wiped. We reincarnate, and we don't necessarily remember all those old lessons, learnings, agendas, etc. And we go through it blindly. And we go through the school of hard knocks of life, right? So that we can resolve these issues. But what if through working with the divine and the non-physical, you could start to have that come to you with so much more clarity and so much more awareness? Like, oh, this is one of those challenges here. Now I get it. I'm just going to choose the highest and most benevolent, best path for me. And I'm just going to choose to traverse this experience, not entangled in it, so that I have to learn the hard way through the school of hard knocks, but rather by working with the divine and my higher self and my team. I'll talk about the higher self too in this episode, so that I can traverse this experience without having to get, for languaging, bitch slapped, sort of like battered and beaten around, so that I can resolve this as gracefully and benevolently as possible and receive the awarenesses and the lessons I'm meant to receive without the hardship of it. Now that's available to us, but it's definitely not available if we're just doing it the old paradigm way, the hard way, through our left analytical brain of trying to figure things out. And especially if we're using the reptilian brainstem of our brain in the old paradigm of overanalyzing, or if the amygdala of our brain in the old paradigm, the amygdala is really what stores up fear. So in that old paradigm, if our amygdala is full of all kinds of fear patterns, we can't even see through the fear while we're going through those difficult, challenging times. But when we work with the non-physical, not only can we clear out the amygdala of that fear, which is so freeing to live without fear. Oh my goodness. You can't even imagine how much fear is in the amygdala, right? Because somehow we were memory wiped a little bit in this old paradigm reality. And we didn't know we could access that consciousness, that information, that guidance easily and effortlessly So the amygdala gets filled up with fear from this and other lifetimes, and it blocks us. And the reptilian brain that we've overused and overdeveloped is running the show. So in the new paradigm, not only can we clear that out, but we also can balance out, when we work with the divine, the left brain and right brain hemispheres, so that we can allow ourselves to realize, this is something the soul wants to resolve. Let's do this. We're no longer operating from the limitation or the limited aspect of consciousness, and rather we begin operating from the higher consciousness, the expanded awareness part of us that allows us to traverse those challenges with so much more grace and ease. And so that we don't have to repeat it again. We shift from old paradigm of memory wiped to new paradigm of memory enhanced. And we are utilizing more of our true abilities, right? But this isn't something that's taught in mainstream. This isn't something that's known or recognized. And there's not many people really out there who really get this conceptually and who are capable of assisting with it, right? Because you have to be working with the higher realms in order to do this. And you have to know how to utilize those gifts of energy and consciousness, and they are available, right? But this is what I mean by the soul's agenda. Now, I do want to mention the higher self, but I just want to say a couple other things about the soul's agenda. Is that the soul's agenda is also to achieve and to have and to live in accordance with its highest fulfillment. It wants the highest and best for you. It wants, I'm saying it, but each of us, because the soul in a sense is not limited to gender, right? One lifetime you might have been a male, one lifetime you might have been a female. In this lifetime, you might be non-binary. It's how you identify, right? The soul is still with you no matter what gender you may identify with, or if you don't identify with any gender. The point is that this soul wants for you, your soul also wants for you to come into union, partnership, and alignment with the divine and the divinity that is within you. And it wants to reward you as well. It wants your highest fulfillment. It wants you to achieve what you're meant to achieve and have all your haves that you want to have and do all the things you want to do, achieve all the things you want to achieve, be the person you truly want to be, the best expression of yourself. And of course, live your highest fulfillment. And it wants you to have everything on your vision board. Of course it does, right? And it's part of it, understands that for you, that's a motivating force. So those things are available to you, but a lot of times the obstacles, the hurdles, the challenges in the way are the soul attempting to resolve the issues that were unresolved from other lifetimes that ultimately are going to help you to get to where you want to get to achieve what you want to achieve, to have what you want to have, to experience your dreams come true, to really live your best life. So understand the soul is working in collaboration and partnership with you, the human experiencer in the physical world. Now, let's also just understand, I still have some more stuff about the soul's agenda, but I just do want to say the higher self part, right? The higher self is the aspect that has a greater picture. It's the aspect of you. It's not the whole of you, but it's part of you, part of the wholeness of you that can see through time and space, essentially, and knows what the soul's agenda is, and also isn't stuck in the energetic density of the soul's work, the soul's hard work and labor, right? So the higher self is asking to expand, is working in partnership and asking you as a unique individual personality perspective in the human world to expand so you can also see, this is where we're going. And this is where we've been and what we need to resolve in order to get there. So the higher self becomes guidance in a different way. The soul's guidance is going to be like, not this way, that way. The higher self's guidance is going to be like, this way, this way. Oh, not that way, this way. It's different frequencies. And again, this is just the ways I've identified it and learned it through my own inquiry. But when you start understanding this, and you start recognizing this is happening in your business, this is happening in your career, this is happening in your home family life, this is happening with regard to your home environment. This is going to affect all areas of your life. So no matter what you're struggling with and or overcoming and or growing into in your life, the soul's agenda will reign supreme because it is karmically designed and dharmically designed, in the sense that your dharma is where you're headed into and what you're expanding into and up leveling into, and your karma is what your soul wants to resolve. Please understand, karma, from my perspective, is not a punishment. It is work that wants to be done and resolved. And it is directly related oftentimes to cause and effect, but it's so much more than that. By the way, this information about the soul's agenda is stored for you. It's stored up in the DNA. Oftentimes it's stored up in as what I refer to as corrupted DNA. And the reason I call it corrupted is because it's typically something that's not really your highest fulfillment, and it wants to be resolved so that you can live in accordance with your highest fulfillment. It also is stored up in what we call the Akashic records, which I have referenced before. The Akashic records are records, energetic records of information and energy of everything that's ever existed and everything that ever will exist. Good, bad, ugly, right, wrong, all of it. It's all in there. So it's not like there's no judgment about it. It just simply is information there. It's like you could go into a library and you could find books that you like and you don't like, and books that you want to read, books that you don't want to read. You could find microfiche tapes. You could find videotapes, audio CDs, video CDs, like it's all in there. So it's just a matter of you accessing what's most relevant for you and that which will serve, support, and assist you the best, right? But when we learn how to read those records, we can utilize that to help us. Those records are stored up in, I think I said this, a 6-dimensional bandwidth, which is just a label, but it's a range of energy. We'll talk more about energy as we proceed in future episodes, but just know this. The point is that the soul's agenda will not be escaped. And it will show up in every area of your life. And the themes of your soul's agenda will be very clear to you once you kind of step back and look at it. So most of the major themes tend to have to do with physical body health, money and wealth, spiritual and personal growth and development. And another big one is emotional. Well, this can fall under spiritual, personal development, but emotional health, well-being, relationships, a really big one, relationship to self and others and all things. Remember, when I talk about relationships, I'm not just talking about to other people. Everything's a relationship, everything. You have a relationship to everything and everyone. Even if you have a pen that you love versus a pencil that you don't like working with, or a pen that you don't like working with, that's a relationship, right? You have a relationship to your animals, you have a relationship to your home, to your neighborhood, to your environment, on infinite, right? So that is another theme. Another major theme that people tend to have is themes of, I think I mentioned this, personal power. And that theme can be related to relationships. So there's a lot of them, but those are the major ones. I think I said them. Health, physical health, body, which is a relationship, money and worth and value, spiritual and personal growth. That's a major one. And then overall, there's always a common thread of experience, because you have to understand that every soul, every higher self, every individualized being is looking for experience to expand consciousness. That is the theme of this reality. That is the theme even beyond this reality, expanding consciousness. So the soul wants to do that. The higher self wants to do that. The beings in the non-physical realm want to do that. And yes, even our animals want to do that. So the animals on earth also want to expand consciousness and want to evolve and grow. And we'll talk more about this in the future. It's not like they're trying to become humans necessarily. It's that their consciousness as individuated beings also wants to expand and grow because they have souls. They are conscious beings. So the agenda of the soul will prevail. And when you understand what it is and how it can help you to know what it is, your life can be so much more easy and graceful in all of your endeavors, because you'll no longer be in the struggle of it as much as you will start to elevate into a higher perspective where you start to see, this is why this is going on. And now I can navigate so much more gracefully, so much more easily, so much more enjoyably. By the way, all of the lessons, like I always say, old paradigm, your learning lessons, usually through the school of hard knocks, so to speak, or the school of life. But in the new paradigm, you really don't have to learn lessons the same way. It's very different. You receive consciousness, you receive downloads, you receive awareness, you receive new energy. And this is a process of learning, of course, but it's a different process of learning. It is entirely different. It's a new paradigm way of doing things, and it requires energy. And it is so much more enjoyable. It allows for the success rates in all areas of our lives to really dramatically improve to 10x. And it reduces the struggles and the challenges monumentally. And of course, that's what we want. That's part of this shifting reality that we're going through. So we no longer have to struggle with the challenges. For example, every physical health issue can be shifted and changed and healed. And it doesn't necessarily mean that we have to go through the pain and suffering associated with the physical health issue any longer. Every relationship dynamic, every power struggle, especially for those of you who are entrepreneurs or solopreneurs or people who have really dedicated your life to your vocation or to service, which so many of you have, it's really a whole different way of engaging with community, because now you're no longer at the level that where they're at. You're elevating yourself into a level so that you can help, support, assist, and serve so much more, so much better, so that you can help them. So all of these dynamics, it's a totally different way of showing up and solving and resolving the issues that the soul wants to resolve. And there are two options. And it's often, I've done quite a few videos on this in the past. There's Kensho. It's labeled as Kensho, which is the old way of like pain and struggling to learning the hard way. And then there's this new way, which is really all about like this elevated way, where we call that like Satori, where we're just allowing these things to shift and to change as they're meant to, and evolving in a whole new way, receiving, accepting, and allowing energy to shift and change, lessons to be learned, transformation to take place. And yes, we do still work with whether we need to, if we need to or not, the records, the so-called karma, karmic patterns resolving, and dharmic patterns unfolding and revealing, the dharmic patterns of who we're meant to become. So I hope this helps. One last note before we wrap, and that's just about the animals' agendas. Typically, in my experience in working with thousands and thousands of animals for countless years, whether they're animal companions or animals in the wild, whether they're individuated animals or collectives who come together, because their consciousness can come together in groups, they typically share so much information and knowledge and wisdom about their humans. Their soul's agenda as a collective is to support humanity as it evolves. You might not be able to see this in all the patterns and all the ways that animals experience life on Earth, depending on your perspective. But overall, that is their agenda. So an animal in the human family is typically paired up with that human through a soul family connection, typically, not always, to help support and assist and serve that family or that human in their family. And even after the animal transitions, depending on the strength and length of the bond, not length in terms of time, but well, it could be in terms of time, but in terms of soul lifetime connections is what I mean. Depending on that, the animal could stay for quite a while in the non-physical as one of their guides, or could choose to reincarnate and come back as another one of their animals, or move on. It depends. Everybody has different experiences, but the point is that the animals have agendas too. Most often, their agenda is to support and assist the human or the humans who they live with. They are also here for their own personal experiences and growth as well. Their own soul's agenda to grow and evolve. I had a dog for so many years. She's just such a love. Her name was Kiko, and her soul's agenda was to really learn to release and free herself of lifetimes of fear of humans and to evolve as a soul who had no more fear of humans. I was just so amazed that when she left me, that was what she said. She said, "Mom, we completed our agenda together to free ourselves from fear of humans." And it's strange to think that a human would have fear of humans, but I did have that for many years. I grew up with a lot of bullies. I didn't grow up in a stable home family environment. I had a fear of humans for many years. And when she left, I really got that. When she transitioned, I was no longer afraid of humans, and she wasn't. I'll give you a little side note on this, and then I'm going to wrap this show for today. But in her afterlife, in connecting with her, I had asked her, where are you now? Where are you going? What's going on? And, I was in a state of elevated consciousness, connecting with her soul's agenda. And I was shown visually, we call this clairvoyance. I was shown visually this image of a map of Florida, which we had lived in Florida at the time, and zooming in on Orlando, and then zooming in on a bedroom that was a child's bedroom with a crib. I could still see like it was a white crib. The room was mostly yellow, but all of the pastel colors of baby rooms. And there was like a pregnant woman and man in the room looking at the room. And there were balloons from like Disney World in the room, like Disney World. So this expectant mother, this was where my dog was going to be born. Now, it was so clear. There was more to it. Now, I don't think that a lot of animals do become humans, actually. I think most of them, in my experience, generally prefer not to become humans as souls, contrary to what humans tend to believe. Because humans think that that's the way the soul progresses. But that's not what I've received through animal communication for the most part. But in this case, that was what she was moving on to. And I felt through my various processes of doing this work for so long and getting so clear with the guidance, how it comes through, I really felt at that time very complete. As much as I loved her and I didn't want to say goodbye to her, I knew that she was going to, in her own way, memory wipe our experience. Not that some version of her would not live on forever, but that she was going to incarnate as a baby, as a human for her first time. And she needed to release her memories of being a dog in order to do that. It's just so fascinating, the things we can learn. So it helped me to let go and move on and be complete in that relationship. And it helped me to resolve the grief of the loss after she left and to leave it behind in love. But it's helping here now to share this with you, right? If it serves you. Animals have souls and they have agendas too. So I hope this has been helpful. There's so much more we could explore on this. I'll just add this. Oh my goodness, there's always more to add, right? Your soul's agenda, not only is it stored in your Akashic records, not only is it stored in your DNA, I mentioned that, but there are other places to be able to reveal it to yourself in subtle degrees, to some degree. Numerology, which is one of my tools I love using. Sacred numerology has it to some degree. Astrology has it to some degree. Not as much as when you go deeper, but you can find it in there as well. So these are things that we work on, right? And I hope this has brought some light to you, especially those of you who are animal lovers or have ever lost an animal. But just to help you on your journey, that as you realize your soul's agenda, you will be able to navigate life much more gracefully and easily. And the challenges and obstacles and hurdles that are part of the human experience won't be so difficult to overcome. They do not have to be patterns that play out forever and ever, that you can never get over or never get past. That's not what they're meant to be. And you can really become more of who you're meant to be, really evolve past them and receive all the gifts of learning that you're meant to receive from going through those challenges and move on and really, really live your highest fulfillment. Okay, I hope that's been helpful to you, and I'm going to sign off for now. Until next time, I'm sending you so much love. Farewell for now. Bye-bye. Thanks so much for listening today. If you loved the show and if you benefited in any way, if it helped you to up-level or expand your consciousness, if you gained any new insights or ideas, if it made you think or become more aware, or if there were some strategies or intuition that you may have benefited from in any way, would you please do me two easy and simple favors? First, if you would be willing to leave a review, it would mean the world to me. I'd be so grateful. And second, if you're willing to share this show with anyone else who would benefit, you can either post it on your social media or just email it to someone and share it with another person or any other people. It would be so awesome. This kind of thing is so helpful in expanding consciousness on the planet and helping others to benefit from this kind of teaching, which just simply isn't generally readily available in the mainstream. So sharing it really helps others benefit and helps our planet evolve and awaken. Plus, expressing gratitude and generosity in this way will also expand your capacity to give and receive even more. Either way, I just want to say thank you so much for being here and for participating and for sharing, and overall, just for being the magnificent, the spectacular, the brilliant, the fabulous, the wonderful you that you truly are, and for allowing yourself to be the very best version of you today and every day. All my love and gratitude to you.